One of the more unique prospects in this draft is Usman Garuba. The 6'8" forward big hybrid from Spain put up solid numbers for a young player on Real Madrid, and even stepped up in big moments during the playoffs in the second best league in the world. He has an interesting combination of frame, skills, and intangibles, and today I want to talk about his strengths, weaknesses, and what I think he can be in the future. But before we get into today's video, I've noticed that about 60.5% of you guys that watch my videos happen to not be subscribed. You happen to fall to that 60.5%, or you just happen to be new and like what you see. Feel free to like, subscribe, hit the notification bell to be notified whenever I release a video. I make videos to take elements and formats and apply them to basketball. I also make videos covering the NBA draft like this video, and high school basketball as well. So if any of those things are of an interest to you, this is the channel for you. Let's try to get 100 likes on this video so YouTube will recommend it to others. But with that being said, let's get right into the video. Usman Garuba is a 6'8", 229-pound big forward hybrid from Spain. He grew up idolizing the great Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He joined the Real Madrid program at the age of 11. He overtook Luka Doncic to become the youngest player to start for that Real Madrid senior team at 17 years, 6 months, and 19 days of age, and that's an incredible feat in of its own right. He averaged 4.7 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game, 0.5 blocks per game, and 0.7 steals per game on a 55.22 shooting percentage in 17 minutes per game this season for the Real Madrid senior team. When it comes to the strengths of Usman Garuba, the first one that stood out to me was just his frame. He stands at 6'8", he weighs 229 pounds, and he's only 19, and he just turned 19 not too long ago. This will, in my opinion, allow him to be one of the more NBA-ready prospects from a physical standpoint, because he's 6'8", 229 pounds, not as a traditional big man, but as a power forward hybrid, and he does project to be more of a power forward that can play small ball 5 in some lineups. So the fact that he does have such a good frame already, and I think he could add a little more weight to that frame as well, I think that's a very encouraging sign for his playability right away from a physical standpoint. Not necessarily from a skill set or he's ready standpoint, but definitely a physical standpoint. Similar to, and I'm not comparing them as prospects because they play two different positions, but the way Jaylen Brown was really physically ready to play NBA basketball right away, just from a physicality standpoint. He also has a very good wingspan at 7'3". This will allow him to play the passing lanes very well. It really contributes to him being a very good defender. He's a very good lateral mover, which is very important given the fact that he is this big forward hybrid type. And why that lateral quickness is important is when you're guarding bigs, you need that strength, and he has the frame and the strength. When you are guarding wings and maybe get put into switch situations, you need to be able to move laterally, and especially considering switching has become such a big part of NBA basketball, having that lateral quickness that he does have is something that I think will benefit him right away. Very smart defensive IQ. You can just notice it when you watch him play. He seems to be pretty, I would say, disciplined. He did average, 4 personal fouls per 36 minutes, but I think that has more to do with something in his weaknesses section than it does with his defensive IQ. But he seems to be very smart on that end of the floor is something I would say. Rebounding, pretty good rebounder, I would say. He averaged 9.7 rebounds per game per 36 minutes in the second best league in the world. I think that's pretty good for somebody that's only 19 years old in the best league not called the NBA. Defensive versatility, because of the lateral quickness, because of the wingspan, because of the frame and the strength. Again, that will just give him so much versatility on defense. You can have him drop sometimes, you can have him switch definitely, and given his defensive IQ, it just makes him a defensive monster in a way. On offense, there isn't much as far as the scoring goes, which we'll talk about in his weakness section. For passing, he seems to have very good passing indicators. He's a good IQ as a passer, does have good vision, will find the open man, can find cutters, things like that. he only averaged 1.7 assists per game in Europe this year, but again, that had more to do, in my opinion, with the fact that they didn't really use him that way. And it's understandable why, because like it's just how most young players are. Like Luka, I know people like to bring up Luka, but like Luka was such a rare case of like just being that good that young. But it's more common to see like an Usman Garuba type stat line from a player that's like 19 years old rather than a Luka. But I think the 1.7 assists per game don't tell the full story with him as a passer. I definitely think he's somebody that, you know, if you took his skill sets and put it into college, I definitely think he could have averaged like 4 to 5 assists per game if they used him properly in a college setting. His motor is very good as well, and it ties back into the defense, I believe. And I think that, you know, having a good motor, and something I always preach, you can have the physical tools. You can have all the lateral quickness, the wingspan, the strength. You can have all of that. But do you have the motor to use those tools to your advantage? And Usman Garuba definitely has the motor to use those tools to his advantage. And the final thing I noticed, and this is something that's probably going to be true for most of the international prospects, but definitely in the case for Usman Garuba, is experience against good competition. He's playing in the second best league in the world, and he's putting up decent numbers. 5 points and 5 rebounds per game for most teenagers in that league is pretty impressive. Like, again, minus Luka, you don't see a lot of big numbers from teenagers in the Real Madrid or that whole EuroLeague league, I should say. I'm sorry, I'm messing up my words through the end. But, you know, I definitely think that him playing against better competition, you know, playing in more pro-style offenses, I think that is something that he will benefit from. And wow, this strength section went way longer than I thought it was gonna. But again, obviously, now that we got that rant out of the way, we do have to talk about his weaknesses. When it comes to the weaknesses of Usman Garuba, he isn't a great vertical athlete, to say the least. He's not the best leaper in the world. Again, while he has the great lateral quickness, while he has the strength, he's not a great vertical athlete. He's not going to finish above the rim a lot. And on defense, it might be a bit of a problem going up against this better athletes. As far as like better vertical athletes, that could be somewhat of a problem. He can somewhat make up for this just by having such a long wingspan. But again, some athletes, he's gonna have a problem with it in the NBA just because he doesn't have great vertical athleticism. Perimeter shooting, not a good shooter. The form needs work. I will say that he's not afraid to shoot. If you leave him open, he will shoot it. So that's always an encouraging sign with young players. Like, if they're not afraid to shoot when they're left open, that does give me somewhat of a hope. But he wasn't a good free throw shooter either. 66% on 2 attempts wasn't necessarily great, I would say. So definitely, I think the shooting will be the biggest thing he will need to work on. Offensive mindset, he's definitely somebody that I think can play within the flow of an offense, but he's not somebody that takes advantage of the opportunities that he gets enough. It's something that you would like to see more. Like, there were opportunities that he had as a scorer, even without the jumper, that he could have taken advantage of, but he just didn't. Part of that could be just the way that whole EuroLeague kind of works, where you aren't selfish. But, you know, I think it's something that we'll have to see once he gets to the league, if he takes advantage of his opportunities more. It's something, and the turnovers as well, did average a lot of personal fouls. I did say, ironically, that he had good foul discipline. I meant defensive discipline. Maybe not discipline at all. I don't know what I was saying in that strength section, but when it comes to like the turnovers, you know, 2 turnovers per game per 36 minutes across 86 games overseas. 4 personal fouls per game, needs to work on that as well. Doesn't have great footwork, I would say. That's another big thing he might need to work on. And really, you know, he's just overall just very raw and on offense. It's just something that he'll need to work on. I think that, you know, defensively there aren't a lot of things with the footwork, but overall on his weaknesses section, a lot of it does have to do with his offense, and I think that's going to be the biggest point of emphasis for whatever team drafts him. I have Usman Garuba ranked 14th on my big board. My personal draft range for him is between the 7th and the 15th pick, The likely draft range for him, based off what I've seen from mock drafts around the web, from friends, things like that, is 12 to 25 is that likely range. His ceiling to me is a versatile all defensive level playmaking big wing hybrid type. Somebody, I'm not going to say Draymond Green, because Draymond Green, people forget that Draymond Green was like a special kind of player when he was at his best. But definitely I think he could play that kind of role for a team. His floor to me is a back end of the rotation energy big, someone just comes in for some spoke minutes to maybe get a team momentum when they need it. I definitely think that's something that will be his floor. Team fits, would love to see him with the Charlotte Hornets, because I would love to see a P&O of LaMelo Ball and Usman Garuba having a P&O passer and a P&O roll man that both intelligent passers. That could be something that's very dangerous and something that would be very fun to watch. Memphis Grizzlies, I definitely think that would be a fun fit as well, for the same reason that it would be with Charlotte, because John Morant is a very good passer. I think people forget that he's like one of the best passers in the league, and having that P&R would be fun. And Sacramento Kings, they could just use a guy like this. I definitely think that he should be in the running for their pick as well. Just the defensive versatility that he has, and really his ability to affect the game without really having an offensive game, but you can definitely grow his offensive game as well. So that's really all I had to say about Usman Garuba. He's not the most fun prospect for most people to watch. I had a lot of fun watching him just because of how unique his skill set was. I'm sorry if this one was a bit rambly, but I just had more to say, and I didn't know how to quite articulate some of the things I wanted to say about him. But yeah, that's all I had to say. Thanks for watching. But that is the end of this video. If you've made it to this point, thank you so much. Again, if you haven't already, like, subscribe, do all those things, be a big help to me. Let me know what you think about Usman Garuba in the comments section below. I would love to hear what you guys have to say. What do you think his ceiling is? What do you think his floor is? How good do you think to be? What teams does he fit? Who does he remind you of? Love to hear all that stuff in the comment section below, so feel free to leave a comment. Also, if you have more time, go watch another video. I have made over 400 videos on this channel about basketball, so I'm motivated to find something else that you like. So if you have more time, go watch another video. I would really appreciate that. But with that being said, have a nice day.